Alright, so what I've got here is I've just completed doing some blend shapes. I've just done these here. And here they are. So that's the eyebrow and the lips. So what I would do next, what's next is binding the mesh to the skeleton. But before we do that, let's just go ahead and make sure that everything's good. One really good thing to do is to check your controls. So we're not going to mess with the scale or visibility. You might want to keep visibility on. That's a matter of preference, but I'm not going to. So I'm going to lock and hide that. And I'm going to do that as well here. And this is just for lock and hide. This will just be translate. So if you notice here, nothing happens. But if we move it, it works that way. So lock and hide, rotate, and scale. Same thing here, because we only want to be able to have the controls that actually work and do things. So we don't want to scale on this one, but rotate works and transform works. So there's that. Lock and hide, scale. Do the same here. Rotate works, right? But transform doesn't. So we don't ever want to mess with that. Lock and hide that. And lock and hide this. Again, same thing. It rotates it, but it will not scale. It will scale the rest of the controls, which is bad. We don't want to do that. So let's lock and hide, scale, and lock and hide, translate. Same thing here. Translate, lock and hide, and scale, lock and hide. Same thing here. Lock and hide, lock and hide. We're going through and just cleaning up the controllers so we cannot mess any of the controls up while animating. Lock and hide on translate and scale here. I like to do what I do to one side, I like to do to the other. Lock and hide, lock and hide. And this prevents you from breaking it in any way. Lock and hide, again. And this is a great way to go ahead and check all of your controllers before you bind it in case there is some type of error. So you could run through them as well to make sure they all work. Oh, I'm going to keep that. The one thing, let's look. So the one thing I want to do here is, the last thing I want to do is I actually want to select my controller, shift select the joint, and go to constrain and orient. So now I can control the orientation of the jaw too. So that's kind of cool. So here I only have translate and rotate. It will control the orientation of that jaw controller now. So I just caught something that I had missed. Okay, now let's go here. Not going to translate anything here. Lock and hide. And I'm not going to scale any of this. Lock and hide. So now I've got my facial expressions and my rotate here. So good there. Translate. Lock and hide. Lock and hide. Same thing here. Same thing here. Okay, I've already done that to this controller. Lock and hide. Lock and hide. And I'm just going through all of these. Now, if I had an IK-FK switch, I would just hide the visibility on some of these controls on the arm, but I'm not going to go over that this time. Maybe next time. I'm going to lock and hide that. Lock and hide this. Lock and hide this. Lock and hide this. And by locking and hiding it, it prevents us entirely from making any errors. So now, one of the last things I like to do on top of that, go through these. This will translate, will not rotate. Don't believe it'll rotate. No. So we can lock and hide these. Lock and hide. Okay. Some people like to leave the rotate on. Doesn't, just so they could sort of rotate it so it's sort of facing the face. It doesn't honestly make too much of a difference because you can move it over here and whatnot. So just so I don't mess anything up, I'm going to lock and hide it because it doesn't really do anything anyway. Okay, so here are my eye controls, as you can see. Now I've gone through, double check everything one more time, and this is the only one I'm going to keep all of my controllers on because it is my global control. Now the last thing I'm going to do to clean this up a little bit is I'm going to do a edit, delete all by type, and non-deformer history. That's very important. So we kind of get rid of some of those extra attributes that were lying around, like on here on the neck. There was a make NURB circle from when I created the circle, which I hadn't done, and same thing in here, and so on and so forth. Always good to double check everything's still working after doing something like that, just to make sure, but it is a great way to keep your file clean. And here's everything's working fine. And check these. Yep. And you can check all these at the same time, all working, okay? And we'll go over here and just make sure, and it appears like everything's working very well, and this one as well. Okay, so that all works. All my constraints are working. Whoa. Don't know why I zoomed out so far there. So I've got my knee control, my constraints are working here. So we're good there. And now the last thing I need to do is I'd like to layer out my rig. So I've got my IK handles here. I like to add all of these to a specific layer. Layer, create layer from selected. New IK handles. Save. Same thing here. Add selected objects, and I'm just going to hide those. And then for my skeleton, I like to place that on a separate layer. Layer, create layer from selected. Skeleton, and I'll put new in front of that too so I know. Save. Okay, and finally I'll add that to my skeleton. Some people, you could add it to a new layer called reverse foot joints. Either way, doesn't make too much of a difference. And I'm just going to go ahead and put R on that. And I'm going to hide my, not x-ray my joints, so you can't see my joints going through my rig, so all you see is that. And then I'm going to add my blend shapes as well to a new layer. Create layer from selected. Blend shapes. And new, save, and those I'm going to hide. So the only thing I'm left with is my rig and my mesh. And with that being said, we've just cleaned up the entire thing. Everything should be good. And I'm going to finally add my rig to a new layer. New rig, and I'm going to change the color to yellow because I like that color. I have my other one at yellow, so I'll make this one the other yellow. Alright, so my rig stands out a little bit more. And the last thing, very, very last thing, is I'm going to add my mesh. Even the eyes. And I'm going to go layer, create layer from selected, new mesh, change the color to black on that. And this is going to be renderable, and my skeleton is going to be renderable. And that's it. So that is how you go ahead and clean up your rig at the end once you get all the controls working correctly. So thanks for watching that, and I hope you enjoyed.